Katie from the Fabric Squirrel. I'm here today to show you how to turn this panel into a string of stockings to use at Advent. So it's getting really popular now to just have an Advent calendar that you can use year and year after year, and then just fill it with different treats or presents as children or grown-ups get older and their interests change and things, especially with children. It's a really nice way of doing it, so they don't just fill themselves with chocolate all of December. So this one is for individual little stockings. I'm going to show you how to do it as per the instructions are here, so the basic version, but I might just show you how to do a little twist or how to do it a little bit differently as well. So I'm going to start off by cutting out all of these stockings. I might be here some time. I use just my regular sewing scissors for this. These are my Tudor Pinks, which I love. And just make sure you have a sharp pair of scissors. And just cut all the way around the dotted line. Like so. One down, 23 more to go. Right, last one. Now it does look like I've made loads of scraps, but there'll be loads of waste. There are loads of things you can do with this. So I've recently shared a tutorial on how to make a scrappy cushion. So using Bondweb, you cut your shape out Bondweb, iron that onto fabric, peel the backing off, and then very carefully, all your teeny tiny little bits, just iron them onto the Bondweb and sew all over it. It's my scrappy heart cushion, so that's on there. But a lot of these smaller offcuts I just give to George's nursery, or use them for a plique or stuffing. I've made doorstops recently and just filled it with things like this. So don't fear, that will not go to waste. It will be something creative in the end. And I've kept the instructions. So cut around all the stockings on the dash line along with the backing fabric. So backing fabric, I've picked out these three. These are from the Craft Cotton Company as well. So one of them is just one of their basic blenders that's around all year round. But I thought the blue went really nicely with this shade. And then I've picked a red and a green. So this is one of their Christmas ranges that will be out in 2018. So I've got the green, I thought I'd match them up with the greens, and the red with the gold snowflakes I thought worked quite nicely with the red ones. So now what you have to do is make the same amount of stockings out of the backing fabric as you do for the main ones. Okay, so now I've got all of my stockings, I just need to run a zigzag stitch along the top edge of them all. So I'm going to go and do that with all of them, including the backing. I'm just using white cotton. There's a little bit of white in all of them, and I always have white cotton on my machine ready to go, so I'm going to stick with that. So when I'm doing something like this, I'll chain stitch it, so I'll leave the last one on. Use a lot less thread and I find it's easier to pull it through as well. So just so you can see what I'm doing a bit closer, I make sure it goes, as you can see, right over the edge. I'll take this one off just to show you, so you can see it tucks it right under. When that's folded over, when that's ironed over, that's going to be really neat. Right, this is quite fiddly and the allowance you get is quite small, so do be careful with the iron that you don't burn yourself. What you want to do is just turn it over ever so slightly and press it. So you need to do that with all of them. You can see that the seam allowance is white all the way around, so you just want to be folding it on those lines really. And then once you've done that with the front pieces, you'll get an idea of how much to do it by on the backing pieces. So fold it to the back because we want that to be inside the stocking, hidden away. So now we're going to sew down the top edge, now that we've ironed it over. Now I'm stuck to white again because it is the common colour in most of them. You want to put it down really close to the edge. Make sure your long stitch is on after having your zigzag on before. And just do a straight stitch along the top. Just make sure you've caught it all at the bottom, and we'll cut all those off afterwards. They'll all be sewn in anyway. Right, so keep going in a chain stitch like you did before once you've got going. Okay, so I've just finished trimming all of these down. Now it's time to add the ribbon. There are a couple of options. It depends how you want to hang it really. So if you want to have it on one long string, you could just cut a small amount like this, sew that onto the back edge like this, and then use either ribbon or some binding, and you could attach them all in a long line like this. If you want to be able to tie them individually, you could allow a bit of a longer thread ribbon and just sew it in half like this, and then you'll be able to tie it. Or the instructions say at 9 centimetres, which is about much, which I think works quite well. Fold it back on itself like this and then sew that, and then you can hook it on. So you've got a few options then. You could still add the binding if you wanted to. You could hook it on something individually. Yeah, or just hang them up around the house. I think I'm going to go with this option as well. I got some ribbon, but decided it was a bit thick, and I love Rip Rack anyway, and I've got this. It's a really nice green colour, and there's a feature in like wavy lines on the feet of quite a few of these stockings, so I thought the wavy Rip Rack would work really nicely. So 9 centimetres. I'm going to measure the first one, and then I'm literally just going to use that as a guide. I've got my little scissors handy, so I'm going to use those. What I love about these is that they're really good for like the small, like a little pair of embroidery scissors that you get, but the actual blade's really sharp as well. Okay, so I'm going to do this on the back. I'm going to do it on the heel end as well. Let me just show you closer up on here. Don't do it too close to the edge because you don't want it getting stuck in your seam allowance. I'm going to use my back stitch and just go it a couple of times so I know it's secure. Trim it down. Right, so now we're going to do right sides together. I'm going to sew them together. You could pin it. It just takes longer. With only small pieces like this, I think you can get away with it. So I'm definitely going to backstitch on these bits. You can just about see the seam allowance anyway through the fabric, so you can use that as a guide. Now, it does end up working out. I just sort of pick a spot on the actual foot of my machine and then stick to that. I find that the easiest way to use a guide. The fact that it's quite small will be helpful when you turn it. Just find that around some of the curve bits you might have to lift your foot slightly so it doesn't bunch up. Trimmed all my threads. I'm just going to snip in the curves. And around the toes. If you just cut little triangles like this, you won't get that puckering that you get sometimes with curved edges. Make sure you don't cut through the stitch line that you've just made. Push it through. Now this gadget here is a loop turner. I do use it for loop turning, but it's so handy for things like this. These will need a press as well, so that you can make them nice and smooth. Once it's pressed, it'll look nice and neat, but here we go. Here is our very first stocking. Right, now for the rest. I now have a big pile of stockings that just need turning out. So you can clip them, like I've showed you, but another option is you could use pinking shears if you've got them. So I'm not going to bother finishing off the insides. They're not going to be used enough to worry about fraying and doing a zigzag stitch or overlocking them. So you could go around and use your pinking shears if you're worried about fraying. Since they're only going to have one, well, realistically they're only going to be used once or twice a year, once to put a present in, once to take it out and then put back up again. So they should be absolutely fine if you don't have pinking shears. Otherwise, go and do those. Be my next job. Right, now it's time to iron. So I have got my loop turner just to really neaten up the curves. The curved end does help push out the toes and the heel, which is really handy. I'll be finding threads forever as well. So here are the finished stockings. All I've done is use some ribbon and some pegs to hang them up. Now, you wouldn't necessarily need the ribbon if you were going to do this method, so you could skip that step. This gives a bit more flexibility, so you can peg them or hang them anywhere. I've got a plan to make a panel for these to hang on to, so I quite like that I've got the option of either doing it this way, or hopefully by the end of the year I'll have a different method of hanging them up. So yeah, 24 very cute stockings.